Comes Leonard through his spot. Leonard all the way in, puts it down.
Kawhi Leonard with an absolutely huge dunk to get the Toronto Raptors up 3 at that point. However, the TNT cameras did a great job of showing perhaps a double dribble before that dunk. Rick Kamla, Steve Smith, Mike Fratello here, taking you through the postgame of another classic in the 2019 NBA playoffs, and where Toronto could not close at the end of regulation. They could not close at the end of the first overtime. They did close at the end of the second overtime, and there was a key sequence, guys. Lopez has the rock going up for a layup. He's going to tie this game. Siakam flies over for the block, and it leads to a bucket by Kawhi Leonard. That's maybe the turning point of the season for Toronto.
No, just a fantastic play by Pascal Siakam. The recognition to come over, being able to understand his teammate was beat, and to block the shot without fouling. It was a huge play, gave them some momentum, and they drove it. As you can see, Brook Lopez driving it. Here comes Siakam, and they turned this defense into offense. Great play by Siakam.
Smitty, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but people watching, I know X number said, isn't that a foul? After he blocked it, he landed on top of him. In the NBA, it's an unwritten rule. If you get the shot clean up at the top and then your body lands on top of the other player's body, they don't call that. It's the contact that they're looking for up at the top. That was clean. Then the follow-through is both of them crashed and landed there. The NBA officials don't look for that.
No, you're right, Coach. I mean, I think if it was a foul up top or body while the sequence of the shot, you call it. But after you get the block shot, usually it's just play on right now, that's what happened.
Exactly.
I mean, so the Toronto Raptors, all of their fans, just breathe. Start breathing. You can relax now, okay? I mean, because at the end of regulation, you have Pascal Siakam, who played marvelous all game, misses 3 free throws down the stretch. That was huge. You also have 2 dagger attempts by Fred VanVleet. If he hits either of those shots, ball game. They couldn't get it done. End of the first overtime, you have Kawhi Leonard missing that shot. And then, as we said, Pascal Siakam and Kawhi Leonard are able to close it out in double overtime. So many storylines, right? You had Lowry fouling out with about 6 minutes to go in regulation. Norman Powell, great game, fouls out. Giannis Antetokounmpo fouls out. But talk about what Toronto might have learned from failing at the end of regulation, failing at the end of the first overtime, and then finally closing it out in double OT.
Well, they dodged a bullet. They have to love that they just grinded this game out, Coach, and they just played and played and played. And also Milwaukee with their superstar, Giannis didn't play well. Did a nice job of doubling, teaming him, and also making it hard. But I think it came down to they're not in this game if Norman Powell doesn't play the way he plays off the bench. Siakam played well. And, again, Kawhi, heavy load for him, took over the basketball game. They did a nice job, Toronto, just grinding this one out.
You've got to answer certain questions, and one of them has to be, you picked up Lynn during the course of the regular season when VanVleet had the injury. Everybody thought it was a great pickup. You got 2 guys tonight who are struggling, 1 of 9, 1 of 11, talking about Danny Green and VanVleet from the floor. That's 2 for 20. Mm-hmm. Why did Lynn not get an opportunity in the game? Is there something? Is he injured? We don't know that, but you would think a guy with Lynn's size, his strength, and his ability to score and score points in bunches may have gotten a shot when you're watching these other 2 guys. And there was a stretch there in the end of the third or beginning of the fourth where Toronto was turning down shots. The game got big, it got tight, and all of a sudden, when Lowry went out, when he fouled out of the game, forget it. You saw guys look at the rim and then think about it twice and pass to somebody else, which led to some forced shots because the 24-second clock had almost run out. So when it gets tight, it's tough in playoff games.
And now, of course, there's injuries to follow in the playoffs. And now we have one with Kawhi Leonard. And I shouldn't call it an injury, maybe a tweak, maybe, I don't know, something. Maybe he's hurt, but plays 52 minutes, 36 points, 8 of those points in double overtime. But on the jam, with 3:13 to go to put them up 3 in double overtime, he appeared right there in the first quarter. He was going up for the jam, guys. And this is a dunk from Kawhi, the patented one-handed dunk, but something happened to one of his legs on the way up and had to lay it in. And we saw him wincing throughout the game and limping a little bit. this is an issue that we're going to have to watch going forward.
Yeah, and I think so. And I look at it as we don't know what it is, Rick, but we just saw him, like you said, grimacing a lot during the game, not being himself athletically. One time there was a loose ball, and usually whether he gets it or not, he attacks it. Not to chase down guys on the same possession. It's just something that he's laboring. But you saw in his answer, he says this is the playoffs. And I think if I'm a player too, I'm not trying to give the other team information. I'm not trying to give the media information. I'm trying to get this day off, coach, win this game, and start icing and getting myself ready for the next game if possible.
And he's hoping that next game is a late next game, not an early next game, because he can use as much rest as we see. And I think it was clear to us, we saw a lack of elevation on his part. When he would put the ball down that last dribble before he would go up into his jump shot, he normally elevates up above his long arms, big hands that he has. He gets shots over people. He did not have that soft shot, that touch, because he had no elevation.
It's a great call. And the dunk with 3:13 left in double overtime, when he double dribbled and then got the jam, he might have been better served to hang on to that rim a little bit, right? He jammed it, came down, and looked to maybe aggravate what's going on with one of his legs.
Yeah, it is. And and the one thing is, I don't want to speculate that his legs. It could be anything, Rick, because just because he's grimacing, you just don't want to say what it is. And I think in that situation in the playoffs, Rick, you're not thinking
There's the
about
double dribble right there.
Yes, and you're not thinking about your injury. You're saying, let me go try to dunk it, and you're going as hard as you can. And then whatever happens afterwards, you can live with it. It's the playoffs. I think for him is if you start thinking about injuries while you're playing in this game, it will throw you off. You just got to play through it, gut it through if you can, and he did, and try to get to right now, which is a lot of ice and a lot of doctors and MRIs and things of that sort.
Now remember, you hang on the rim without anybody underneath you, it's technical foul. So you got to be,
Coach is making sure he's saying, hey, don't hang on the rim.
What about the safety of our ball players, though, Czar?
Well, if there's nobody there should be no safety factor they're worried about. I know, you just want to get them a little soft landing. That's what you want.
Yeah, and Coach, this is hard because you don't know what Mirotic is going to do. If he's going to challenge the shot, you don't want to go up for a layup. You got to go to dunk it.
Yeah, and he did, and he scored. It was a huge basket, put him up 3 at the 3:13 mark of double overtime. Obviously, throughout our hour or whatever we're on the air here, coaches, players coming to the podium, and we will have live and uninterrupted for you right here on NBA TV. Pascal Siakam, we have to talk about his ball game here. 25 points, 11 rebounds. The block that really saved the season on Brook Lopez. He had 3 steals as well. Czar, tell me about what impressed you most about what Pascal Siakam did today.
The 2 guys that we talked about going into tonight's game that we said were going to step up and show up tonight were Marc Gasol and Siakam, and both of them did their thing. We saw Gasol early on hit 2 threes. He had a block shot, made a couple great passes, and from the beginning, Siakam was in attack mode, off the dribble, going right at them. His footwork on the inside, terrific there, doing a little bit of up and under move. You just saw a different mentality by this youngster coming into this game.
And was that it was more of an attack mentality as opposed to a jump shot mentality, right?
Without question. Everything was off the dribble. Everything was driving to the basket, not settling. But then, to follow up, he hit 2 huge threes when they opened it up there in the third quarter for a while.
Yeah, and I loved it. I think Coach said it best. I think not only was he in attack, he wasn't thinking. He was just playing basketball. He was in a groove, and a lot was Kawhi guarded Giannis on a lot of plays. I think they took turns, gave him some rest, gave him some legs, and he just had a better approach to the game the way he was playing.
What does this say about Marc Gasol? Blamed the loss in Game 2 on himself. He was absolutely terrible in the first 2 games in Milwaukee, put it on himself, and came out here, and it was a masterful game. 16 points, 12 rebounds, 7 assists, 5 blocks for Marc Gasol. What does it say that he's able to have just 2 clunkers and respond with a masterpiece like this?
Well, he's a veteran, and he has talent, and he's an unbelievable talent. The thing is, I've been looking at Marc Gasol has been his confidence, and that's hard because you look at a veteran that's been around, and the reason why I say that, he's such a good basketball player. Seems like he hesitates on all his decisions. On his shot, he's not really shooting. He's kicking guys, kicking it back. When he was taking those first shots in the first quarter, Coach, he was not thinking. It was almost, I'm shooting it as the passes come.
He hit 2 early threes, right.
And then also, Mark's so good. If you go into that motion, players, the defenders read it. He can pump, they can pass. I think the hesitation these last 3 or 4 games up into this game is what got Mark and not in his offensive rhythm, Coach.
By making those first 2 threes in that first quarter, the next couple times he just brought the ball up to show it. He had 2 blow-by dribbles past them where he was able to either kick out to a teammate or try and attack the rim. And then, though, he got a little hesitant there, so he went back to it in that second half, where he turned down some shots because he was reluctant to shoot the basketball. And this is, a team on the verge of going down 0-3, that all of a sudden they see the game tightening up. And when that leader, Lowry with the ball in his hand, who can attack the rim and was making threes tonight, when he